Welcome in, everybody, to a special nightcap edition of Football 24/7 as we recap this Football Friday. 4 moves made today by the Philadelphia Eagles, continuing to shop at the clearance rack as what we're doing in this phase of free agency. But 4 big pickups today. I wouldn't call them big, but 4 pickups today. You got a long snapper, Charley Hughlett. You got a kick return, punt return specialist in Avery Williams. You got some more tight end depth with Kylen Granson. And an old friend, edge rusher Patrick Johnson, has returned. Johnny Mac, how you doing this Friday night, brother? 4 big signings for us to recap.
Yeah, Temu's got a 30% off sale today. So. Yeah, I mean, wow. A wave. I guess it was Special Teams Day. For those who listen to this show, you're aware that Rick Lovato didn't have the best season.
Yep.
So, a couple things I think today. Charley Hughlett signed, big time long snapper in the long snapper world.
Yes.
34 years old, had snapped for, 150 something straight games before he got injured last year for Cleveland. At one time was the highest paid long snapper in football. At one time signed a 6-year deal. In that world, he's big time. Now, he's a little bit older than Rick Lovato, so you never know when it's going to leave you. But obviously, they feel he's the better option at this stage. And long time, I still remember John Dornbos, who obviously was very, very popular for his long snapping ability, plus, his personality, magician, all that kind of stuff. He was injured. Rick Lovato had to come in late in the season, December, never left. And he'd been here, through this sort of great era of Eagles football, 3 Super Bowls, 2 Super Bowl championships, made a Pro Bowl as a long snapper. But, I say it all the time, it doesn't stay in the stasis here, and did not have a good season. One of the major reasons Jake Elliott struggled, a lot of bad snaps, a lot of good holds from Braden Mann.
Yeah, I remember some of the catches he had. He
Yeah.
was like a receiver back there, man, with some of the catches he made. Yeah.
Yeah, and unfortunately, end of the road, it looks like, for Rick Lovato in Philadelphia. Same thing with Britton Covey, different type of circumstance. Britton, unfortunately, was injured, pretty significant injury, had some nerve damage on top of it, didn't tender him as a restricted free agent, which was understandable because it was $3.2 million. So that non-tendering wasn't that big of a deal because in the modern world, restricted free agents don't get a ton of tenders because they're too expensive now. But didn't limit the Eagles' ability to bring him back if he was healthy and all that kind of stuff. But the fact that they signed Avery Williams today is an indication that they don't think they want to go in that Britton Covey business any longer. So he's a potential both punt return, kickoff return. I think he was a gunner in Atlanta, pretty good gunner. So if Kaylee Ringo takes over that starting cornerback job, you're not going to want him to be the gunner. So, he could factor in that position, do a lot of different things as well.
John, real quick, before we go to the other two, I just a question on Avery. Talk me through this here. Are they looking for more explosive playability there? Because, Britton Covey was like one of the top returners. It felt like he always got you 10 to 15 yards, but it never felt like he could take the top off, if that makes sense. Are they looking for more of that here, or, why go to Avery Williams here? I don't think you're saving much money on it.
No, I don't think it. I mean, Britton Covey, his second year, he was the best punt returner in football.
Yeah, that's what I mean. So, what are they looking for here that Britton didn't give?
He's not healthy, number one. And I don't know if he's going to be healthy. As I said, he had gripping issues. He was practicing. Everybody was saying that, when is he going to get activated? When is he going to get active? Well, he felt fine, except, he couldn't necessarily. We talk about nerve stuff all the time. He was having some nerve stuff, and
Yeah, right.
he couldn't guarantee that he'd be able to grip the football in the middle of a game. And then all of a sudden, if it's a fumble, you just can't go forward with that. So I think it's main health wise with Britton Covey, um, and obviously, they're going to go in a different direction. But I don't think as a punt returner, Nick Sirianni loved the guy. Um, Now, what Williams gives you too is you also lost Isaiah Rodgers and Kenny Gainwell, who were your two main kick returners. So he can do both. Plus, he can be a gunner. So if you think about that, Kenny Gainwell, Isaiah Rodgers, Britton Covey, Kaylee Ringo. This guy in theory, he might be able to do all those jobs.
Right.
I don't know if the Eagles will allow him, and I don't want to overstate it because in theory he could also be cut. Because
Yeah, right. You don't want to make it seem like we got the next big thing, but his skill set is more capable of that versatility.
Yeah, exactly. So if it works, you kill a bunch of birds with one stone. And then Patrick Johnson, longtime core special teamer here. I guarantee it's not up to Michael, but he'll be hoping Patrick Johnson makes the 53 so he can make him a core special teamer. So today was special teams day.
Yeah. You missed one, though, Kylen.
Well, and he's not a special teamer. Kylen
right.
Granson is more of I went with the special team stuff first. Kylen Granson.
Yeah, you're good.
Tight end, second tight end. I think this is another indication that it's more likely than not that Dallas Goedert isn't going to be back. Don't know how it's going to shake out. But boy, I mean, that position is of all, I made the joke about Tamu, and they're Tamuing up at tight end. I mean, come on.
I mean, certainly. That's Tamu central right there at that position right now.
I mean, if they're like, oh, you can go with Granson and Bryant and Calcaterra. Whew, I don't agree with that.
There's no way. There's no way this is their only replacement plan if Dallas Goedert is out the door, is it?
Well, you look to the draft, and it's a deep draft, and maybe you feel you have enough depth to take a shot on a younger player being the main piece. I don't know, but I don't like it. But I like Dallas as a player. I mean,
you just talked about killing birds with one stone. This is like the opposite here. Dallas does everything well, and now you're piecemealing into the tight end room. One guy can block, one guy can kind of catch, one guy can do a little bit of both, but not really. It's like the opposite of what they're doing with what you said.
Yeah. I don't like the way it's going with Dallas Goedert. I just don't like it. I get what they're trying to do overall, and he's not going to be here long term, but you should have started the succession plan a little bit earlier. Right now, you don't have one.
Right.
So you're trying to create one out of a bunch of clearance aisle items. I don't like it.
Do you think the holdup on Goddard right now comes from maybe even Dallas's side? Like, what I mean by that is if Dallas was willing to take a short-term extension, and maybe he's not, would that be the holdup, or would the holdup be that the Eagles probably might not want to extend him at all and they're looking for the off-ramp? Or where do you think that holdup might lie with Dallas?
Yeah, I think it's a two-way street. I mean, I think if Dallas was willing to accept, a short-term thing, I think the Eagles might be fine with that.
Right.
But again, it's probably his last chance to get multiple years at big money. So he's probably not willing to do that, at least right now. One of the reasons the Eagles, they've done this numerous times, I've explained, whether it's Josh Sweat and Hassan Reddick and Darius Slay in the past, and now Dallas, they let people go out and say, all right, you essentially allow them, their agents, to do your negotiating. If somebody's willing to pay you this, go find it and tell us. And usually the Eagles have a good beat on the market, and they come back and realize Josh Sweat being the perfect example. Come back and realize, all right, you know, I can't get what I want, so I might as well stay here with a winning team, yada, yada. And he bet on himself and he ends up with that big contract a year later. Hassan Reddick went the other way, played hardball, which hasn't helped his career, but didn't help the Eagles either. But I remember, I just pay him, just pay him. Hey, the Eagles were right, you know. But, you know, fans get entrenched with players they like. And Hassan had a big season in 2022.
Yeah, I think that, I mean, this one for me is a lot less about being entrenched on Goddard and more just looking at the Temu collection we just talked about, looking at the contingencies or the replacement plans. I mean, you even go to the draft. I know people say it's a deep tight end draft. First off, they're all lottery tickets, including Tyler Warren. I know people like him. I'm sure he's going to have a good career, but they're all lottery tickets. And after Tyler Warren, I really don't see a guy that looks that good. I mean, there's some good players, but let's be real. The draft is a crapshoot. So I don't know. I just don't think they're set up right now. I don't know if Michael Mayer is still out there or if that trade option or if they're exploring things like that. But, you know, I did see the report that came out today. I don't know who put it out there. Was it Diana Rossini maybe, or somebody put it out there? You can correct me, that they're open to trading Huff and Goddard. So I don't know. It looks like it's going to be the end of Goddard, but I just don't see the replacement. And that's my issue with this. It's less about my affinity for Goddard.
Yeah, well, I mean, the Goddard stuff's been out there. I think that was Jordan Schultz, but the Goddard stuff's been out there.
That's who it was.
Out there for a while. The Huff stuff is, you know, it's more like, if you call,
yeah, right.
You know, because Howie earlier when he was talking to us before, this is before they went down to New Orleans for the Super Bowl, had mentioned, you know, he's stubborn. That press conference, he's stubborn, and you know, he still believes the story's yet to be written, yada yada yada. There's two parts to that. One, you never want to shit on a player because you don't want to destroy, you know, what it does you no good to. So you don't want to destroy what trade value there might be. And two, you know, you may have to run it back with them, and you don't want to lose the player from that perspective either. So part of it is just playing the game, but you know, they need edge rushers as well. So same thing. But you know, if you look at how many players we're at right now, after, you know, they hadn't signed, they were the last team. You heard the narrative. They were the last team. Nobody else had not signed a free agent.
Yeah, right.
Now we're at 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. 8 in 2 days and, well, 3 days, but you know, every single one of them 1 year lottery ticket type players. And some are not even that. I mean, you bring back Patrick Johnson. You know what Patrick is.
I kind of liked the Patrick Johnson. I liked him when he was here. And, you know, you remember, John, when we talked about this and they, you know, because Patrick Johnson was one of the guys that we debated, will they cut him or will they bring him back, because they were trying to crunch to get to the 53 last year. We, you know, I think you wanted them back too, but we both said you're going to need depth at the edge. And then they ultimately needed depth at the edge later. And we had said, we wish we had Patrick Johnson. So I think I kind of like the Patrick Johnson.
Well, I mean, you know, he's a bit guy, but he's a good special teams player. And they had that issue and they had to waive him. They were hoping to get him back on the practice squad, but the Giants claimed him. Yeah. And now he's back, but he's mainly a special teamer. But, you know, you look at it. So right now it's Nolan Smith, Jalix Hunt, Bryce Huff, Josh Uche, and Patrick Johnson. I mean, that's not good enough. So, you know, and again, this doesn't proclaim that it's not like these 8 guys. If you know, I would bet Dylan makes the team if he's healthy, asterisk. Uche, Adoree Jackson's going to make the team. Hewlett's going to make the team. And those are the only guys they signed that I say 100% unless they're injured, they're going to make the team. The other guys, I could see it going both ways. Both ways.
Yeah, we'll see what happens. John, I want to go through real quick each player one by one there. I know there's not much to talk about on these guys, let's be real, but Charley Hughlett, I do like that. The only thing there is, I mean, he's super old. I think he's like 35 now. I think you're a long snapper. You could probably play a little bit longer.
Yeah, you can play.
You can play longer, but still, they did get older at that position. I think Lovato was 32, didn't have his best year last year, but Hughlett comes in looking maybe for some stability on that special teams. And you're right, he has been a very good long snapper. And prior to his injury last year, which, by the way, I think if I read about it a little bit, I think it was like a fluke injury where a player like ran into him at practice and then he missed time. But before that, he had 152 straight games that he played for the Browns. So he was super reliable. And I kind of like that move just because you needed to replace Lovato. But it seems like he can do the job well. I mean, it's one of those positions, John, you don't notice the long snapper until you have an issue, you know?
Yeah, exactly. No, he's like a franchise legend in Cleveland. I mean,
yeah, right.
I went when they signed him and I confirmed it. I'm looking today when they released him. I mean, Andrew Berry's sending out comments, and usually the long snapper doesn't get that kind of treatment.
Yeah, right.
But he was a big deal with that organization, not only on the field, but off the field. And like I said, you know, he was the highest paid long snapper in the NFL. This guy was one of the it's funny. I've talked to Rick Lovato a lot over the years, the long snapping community. They're all friends. They all know each other. And he would always mention two guys that I'd say, who's the best? Because I'm with you. I mean, there's one position I can't gauge. It's long snapper. I'm like, you need a stopwatch. How quick is it coming back? You got to until they do it wrong. And Andrew DePaulo's made the Pro Bowl like 2-3 straight years is the name Rick would always mention. And this guy, Charley Hughlett, as being the best long snappers. So clearly the Eagles think it's going to be an upgrade. And it's hard to imagine it wouldn't be an upgrade off last year. But, you know, don't sleep on Rick and what he did for the organization. Like I said, this run, and he did in the Super Bowl, he sort of bounced back, and so did Jake Elliott. No coincidence there.
Well, he did have the two penalties in the Super Bowl, didn't he?
Did he? I don't even remember.
I saw a stat today, and I'd have to double check what it was. I should have wrote it down, but he had like one penalty in like 5 years, and then he had two in the Super Bowl. So people were like, "Oh, he's washed. You know, get rid of him. He's at his back." But no, he didn't have his best season though. And
no, he did.
No, it's not a statistical position, obviously. So you can't look to a statistical decline.
Well, I got one guy on social media. It's like, look at Jake's missed field goals and show me the ones. A, don't give me homework, you fucking asshole. But B, you look at them because they're all over the place. Where Braden Mann's making these great holes, you know, to the point the announcers are noticing and pointing it out. And the Eagles just validated it. They just moved on.
Right.
And they moved on for a reason.
Fiddlesworth checks in. He says, Linsanity type stretch by Johnny Mack these past couple of days. I'm with you, Fiddlesworth. I agree with you. John, let's move into Avery Williams.
I don't like that comparison because Linsanity burned out. You know.
Yeah, that's true.
He was a flash in the
burnout here. We got to come up with a different one, Fiddlesworth. But I hear what you were going for. But no burnout coming here. Avery Williams, John, return specialist for this team. Now, I kind of like this one. Maybe I'm in Eagle Glassland. I might be, but I do think he's got some upside. He missed the 2023 season, I think, with I'm not sure what exactly the injury was, but he returned for 2024. He had 15 kickoffs last year, 408 yards. He averaged 27.2 yards per return. So a pretty decent player in terms of kicking. And like you mentioned, he's kind of that's, kill a couple birds with one stone, and that he can do a lot of those special teams roles. What do you think about Avery Williams, Johnny Mac?
Yeah, I mean, I first of all, that the key part to me is punt returns, and because you don't want Cooper doing punt returns.
Yeah. Definitely don't want Cooper punt.
And then the gunner position, because you're going to need a gunner. Kylen Ringo does what you want him to do. That's two. And kickoff returns is like, who cares? But because there's so few kickoff returns anymore. Little bit more. The Eagles had 33 kickoff returns, I think, last year. So you're talking about 2 plays a game, basically, less than 2 plays a game. But Gainwell and Rodgers handled the majority of, I think, 26 total. And they're both gone. So, but I'm not as worried about the kickoff return as I cannot punt Cooper doing the punt. Can't do it. So he's good at it, tremendous at it, probably your best punt returner.
Yeah.
But you don't want him. You don't
want too valuable of a player. He's just too valuable of a player.
You got to take that off his plate. So if he can help in that realm, and he can help to replace Ringo, good signing. If not, you got to find it somewhere else. It's not that difficult to find a kick returner. You can just let Will Shipley do it. Won't be that big of a. So, but the gunner part of it, the punt return part of it is where he's got to come through. He'll get an opportunity. So
he was decent in punt return last year, 9.2 yards per punt return.
Yeah, before his injury, he tore his ACL, by the way.
Yeah, that's what it was. 23 missed it for an ACL. Yep.
2022, he was like 17 yards per punt return. So he was really good. Not, again, not a ton of, because the punters keep getting better and better. And there's so many fair catches and all that kind of stuff. But yeah, it's worthwhile signing. And if it does click in that way, and you got one guy who can handle all three, that might save you some roster spots. You talk about Patrick Johnson, and that might save you some roster spots to keep guys like that. But I don't think the Eagles think that way. Like, I think he's the punt returner and he's a gunner. They'll say, well, let Will have kickoff returns, So I don't even know if they would allow it, but it would save you some roster spots.
Yeah, no doubt. John, returning to the Philadelphia Eagles is Patrick Johnson, a 7th-round pick in 2021 by the Philadelphia Eagles from Tulane. You remember him well, probably many of you, or you might not, because he wasn't a huge impact on the team, but he was a 2021 7th-rounder for the Philadelphia Eagles. Cut him last year, tried to get him back, but ultimately the Giants claimed him, and he spent 2024 in New York with the New York Football Giants. Now he returns, Johnny Mac. I think this is a good one, as you mentioned, for special teams. You want those bottom of the roster guys to be able to do that. No guarantee he makes the team, but your thoughts on Patrick Johnson's return to Philadelphia?
Yeah, I think it could really help on special teams. I mean, nobody played the 3+ years he was here. Nobody played more special team snaps because he did everything. He was on all 4. They called it core 4. He's on punt return. He was on kickoff return. He was on kick coverage, punt coverage. So he did every single thing on special teams when he was here. But the problem is you got to make the roster. Mm-hmm. And with him, and there was some versatility too, because he's undersized. And he played some off-ball linebacker when the Eagles were having some trouble there late in the 2023 season. So he's got some versatility. But boy, I keep looking, they're undersized with Nolan Smith. They're undersized with Alex Hunt. They're undersized with Josh Uche. They're undersized with Patrick Johnson. At some point, you got to get, Bryce Huff is your stout guy, and he's short, but at least he's stout.
It's like brains that get I guess your Brandon Graham, just in terms of build, not in terms of production. Yeah,
exactly. Or Josh Sweat in terms of, Alex Hunt could be that someday if he grows into his, because he's got the length, but
Sweat can set the edge and stuff super well.
Yeah. Um, so I'm a little bit concerned about the lack of size, but they're obviously not done at edge rusher.
Yeah, we'll see what ends up happening there. And if they do add an edge rusher, then you start talking about somebody's going to get cut. You're not going to bring 6, 7 edge rushers into camp, or into the season. So we'll see about that. And then John, last one, tight end, Kylen Granson. Add him to the list of names, Johnny Mac. Add him to the team of a bundle sale. Everybody, you got Kylen Granson.
Well, and the strange thing about
Bryant bundled up 30% off.
They're like the same player. They're like the same player.
Yeah. People said Kylen can catch a little bit better, but the stats certainly don't say that.
Well, I think he's a little bit more athletic.
Right.
And I think what it is Harrison Bryant's been more of a red zone threat, so he's got more touchdowns. I think Granson only has 1 touchdown. So I think Granson's better than Bryant. But they're both like undersized, sort of move tight ends, H-backs. Granson, if you look at his PFF numbers, was a better blocker, but boy, I was looking at his scouting reports coming up. Nobody thought he could block anybody. So it seems to be he's got a willingness to do it, so that's a positive. Sometimes that's half the battle. Because, in the modern era, the joke around the NFL is lose, but lose slowly. When you're talking about tight ends, because so few of them can block. So that's the whole mentality, is like lose slowly. And maybe he can do that. But, I don't think they're done at tight end either. Especially if Dallas Goedert is gone.
I know, but I don't want to say that these moves guarantee Goddard's gone, but it certainly looks like they're building the room up to have depth and options, for life after Goddard. They might not be done. They might draft a guy, or they might maybe trade for a Michael May or something. Those all things could happen, but it certainly looks like they're building the room for Goddard. Because if you think about it, if Goddard was returning, you need some depth, but you don't need multiple. You would have Goddard and you would have Calcaterra still. So maybe maybe a 1 or 2 more. Now, maybe these could be those guys, but certainly looks like we're prepping for life after Goddard.
Yeah, I can't go that far. I've seen a lot of people say that. I understand why you go there, but I can't believe that these 2 particular players, Cooper Kupp's going to Seattle, by the way.
Is he? Did that just come down? Yeah. I was thinking he might go to Dallas.
So he's going to Seattle. Get Sam Darnold, the receiver, at least help out in that way. But I can't believe that this is their plan to replace Dallas Goedert.
It can't be.
No, that's what I mean. I can't believe they're saying, "Oh, we're getting rid of Dallas, so let's bring in Harrison
Kylen Granson."
Yeah. I can't believe that. Now, they had no depth at that position last year. No depth. And I think they realized it. I kept bringing it up to the point they're signing futures guys, trying to get better depth. So I think it's just about the depth. I think they understand they still need a tight end 1. So I think they understand that.
Yeah, we'll see what ends up happening. John, good stuff. Breakdown of the 4 free agents that the Eagles picked up today. Now 8 total. All right. It started with A.J. Dillon. Then you went to Josh Uche. Then you went to Adoree Jackson and Harrison Bryant. And then today you had Charley Hughlett, Avery Williams, Kylen Granson, and Patrick Johnson. So 8 additions, and then 2 guys picked up in the trade market. Obviously with Kenyon Green in the trade for the C.J. Gardner-Johnson trade. And Dorian Thompson-Robinson, the chess connoisseur with Jalen Hurts, was acquired in the trade with Kenny Pickett. So 10 acquisitions.
Yeah, A.J. Dillon is chess too. A.J. Dillon,
right. He's a chess guy too. That's right. So, by the way, I got to ask you, you left Bird 365 a couple minutes earlier today to talk to A.J. Dillon. I saw you tweeted out, pretty impressive. What'd you think? How was A.J. Dillon this morning?
Well, phenomenal guy. I mean, there's only one guy, ironically, there's only one guy who has made a better first impression This is my 10th year covering the Eagles on a daily basis. So 10 years.
Time flies.
There's only one guy who maybe, this is how impressive and nice and polite, impressive young man. You know who the other one was? And I'm not making this up. This is not a joke. Rashad Penny.
Oh my.
Never in my life. Now, we met Rashad in person. So he went up and shook everybody's hand. I've never seen it before. Brandon Graham, I've heard stories when he first got here, did the same thing, but I wasn't here. But when Brandon thought he was leaving, he stood at the end of the hall, for those who know the NovaCare complex, and gave everybody a hug, basically, when he thought he was leaving. So Brandon's in that category as well. But I wasn't here.
Yeah, just in your experience, yeah.
Yeah. Rashad Penny was unbelievable. And so was AJ Dillon. You know?
And what do you mean by that? Because you were on a Zoom call, like he was just endearing to everybody, or
he was
what?
He very rarely he said, you know, like Rube had the first question. He said, "Welcome to Philadelphia." He said, "Thank you." You know, he thanked everyone. He's just, yeah, I don't know. That's
a high class guy. It seems like,
yes,
yeah, classy and got good manners.
You rarely see that kind of stuff in today's world. And he's just extraordinarily polite. Like, he would go out of his way if you said anything. Some people do, some people don't. But we're talking about 15 questions, and they're saying, you know, "Hey, welcome to Philadelphia," you know, and every single time he would say, "Thank you." I don't know. It's just impressive as a person. You can see how well spoken he is. Just seems like a good dude. So he's really impressive from that standpoint. Handled everything well. He got all the questions about the injury. Handled them all well. Didn't get upset. Anything, because some people never want to talk about their injuries, and he went through some serious stuff. Just handled everything, you know, like a professional. That part of it is not going to be an issue with AJ Dillon.
Sounds like a red star type of guy for AJ Dillon. Nice.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly.
There you go. Good stuff, Johnny Mac. A little glowing endorsement of the character of Dillon. I like that. Always like a good character guy. John, just 2 questions left for you tonight, man. Appreciate the extra time here for the great people of JAKIB Nation, checking in on our latest Temu pickups in Philadelphia. All right. We talked about it a little bit, but I just wanted to get the clarity. The Schultz put out that report. We don't think anybody's actually trading for Bryce Huff, do we? I mean, I tweeted that out. I have a hard time believing they're trading this guy, but maybe, you know how it gets. Agents and teams like to put out narratives or things like that to create talking and stuff like that. But any truth? Are they going to be able to
I would very much believe that somebody would trade for Bryce Huff, but you know, they're buying low. You know, I was on Gil's show earlier this afternoon. He was talking about that as well. And everyone, like, there's so much. I often talk about this. There's so much revisionist history. Like, the Eagles were the only team lining up to pay Bryce Huff. Like, there were a bunch of teams. They beat out like 5 teams to get Bryce Huff. All those teams thought, and there's a bunch of teams who didn't even get involved because they didn't think they could get him. On top of that, all those teams were looking to get this guy, and they might be saying to themselves, "All right, he had a bad year. Let's buy low. Let's give him a 7th round pick." You know, but the contract is the problem. You know, does anybody want to pay that contract? That's the unlikely part. If Bryce Huff got cut, which the Eagles can't do because of the dead money, he get picked up in 24 hours. So that part of it is just, you know, people lose their focus, you know, because he was a disappointment. There's a lot of teams who think this guy, you know, and Kenyon Green's a perfect example. Like, there'll be people in Houston, because he played so poorly, saying, "Why would anybody want him?" Well, the Eagles want him, you know.
Right.
Same thing with Bryce Huff.
I just don't know what what would the Eagles, besides maybe like a 7th round pick or something, what would the Eagles get out of a trade for Bryce Huff? I would have a hard time believing they would get any cap relief or save money or any of those things with moving on from Bryce Huff.
No, they're not. They're that's the problem. They're not. That's why you move on. I've said you might as well run it back and see, and if it doesn't work again, then you move on.
Yeah, exactly.
But from the standpoint of someone else, yeah, I mean, the problem is the contract. The problem is the contract. And for the Eagles about getting back, it's probably more like with Kenyon Green. It's a pick swap. So you get it was the player situation. Eagles gave up a significant player, but the draft pick was a pick swap. They got a 5, but they had to get back a 6. So really what you're trading is draft spacing,
Seems like the Eagles are trying to get all their picks in the top 5 rounds.
Well, I mean, that's, they have a bunch
like
of
5 picks this year in the 5th round, 4, I think.
Yeah, they have a bunch of picks in the 5, 6, and 7. They have 20 picks. I think 11 are in the top 4 rounds. Yeah. So they got 9. Yeah, they got a lot of picks.
All right, Johnny Mac, last question for you here tonight, brother. Kayvon Chason still out there. Azeez Ojulari. I saw a report today. I'm not sure if it was verified or not that Eagles are interested in Ojulari. Maybe some other options out there. Who's next for this Philadelphia Eagles team? What's the next order of business you think they'll address? Today was a special teams day and furthering the tight end depth. What's next for the Birds?
I don't think, they went redundant at tight end, so they might go redundant, but you already got Uche, so I don't need Ojulari at this point. I need a more impactful answer, and that's probably going to come in the draft more than anything else, or the trade market more than free agency. Free agency, they've done it. Now we're at 8 players, all 1-year deals. All free agency for the Eagles this year is lottery tickets, draft proofing, yada, yada. But it'll slow down from this point. It's not going to be 4 guys a day. It'll slow down. Might be a guy here, might be a guy there. But they signed a lot of players over the past 2 days.
8 of them, and they traded for 2. So 10 acquisitions. I do want to correct myself on something I said that was wrong. I apologize. Chason is off the board. The Patriots signed him yesterday to a 1-year, $5 million deal.
Yeah.
Azeez Ojulari is still out there. So I apologize about that. Johnny Mac, great show tonight, brother. Your final thoughts on a Temu Friday for the photo. It's like they listened to you this morning, John, and then they went out there and they said, "How's this for Temu, John McMullen?"
Yeah, man. They had me busy all day. So yeah. If they're playing a joke on me, well done, Howie. Well done. Yeah, I mean, I like some of them. I like Adoree Jackson. I think he could be somewhat meaningful. I'm very impressed with A.J. Dillon as a person. So hopefully he can be healthy. Josh Uche, I think, is a worthy shot in the dark. Charley Hughlett. I like the special teams. I was just talking about that the other day. We were talking, there's so few teams focus on special teams. And they got 3 special teamers today. So, it's not a bad thing to help your special teams coordinator every once in a while. And then maybe one of the 2 tight ends can get a footing. But if you ask me, the 2 I would focus on are Jackson and Uche as potential contributors.
Yeah.
On defense.
And Hughlett will definitely make the team.
Oh yeah. But nobody cares about that.
Yeah, nobody cares. One super chat, John, before I let you run. Brian Pumper, what's a show without Brian Pumper, Johnny? Howie bartering at the local flea market. These moves are hot ass. Oh man.
Yeah, I mean, people don't care about role players, but you need role players to win. Pump.
You got to fill out the roster, man.
Yeah,
a lot of names they got to get. John, I likened it today to Howie sitting back with a dart and there's the list of 250 free agents, and he's just tossing darts up at the guys he wants, and he's signing them to $1 million deals. So
well, I guarantee you, Pumpers there saying Oren Burks was hot ass last year, and he signed a 1-year deal.
How about Bond? Bond was a flea market guy last year.
Yeah, he was a flea market. Well, he was a flea market guy that turned into an all-pro. So I kind of put him off to the side.
Yeah,
but
he's rare.
Oren Burks not only was hot ass, he was cut, and they brought him back, and all of a sudden he's playing like a Pro Bowler in the playoffs. You need backups, and you need competent backups. So they might look like hot ass on March 14th, but get that 30% off coupon out, because you got to get somebody.
Johnny Mac, great stuff, brother. Appreciate you doing it tonight. Great week of work by you, man. I saw your tweet today, thanking all the people for the views, man. Unbelievable how strong our viewer base is, and how good the people are that tune in and listen to your content every single day. So, John, we appreciate you at JAKIB Sports, man. Great job this week, and we'll see what's next for the Philadelphia Eagles. Thank you, Johnny Mac.
All right. Hopefully we get a break on the weekend. All right.
Yeah, I don't know if we're gonna. I'm gonna have my laptop up next. I got a busy day, so I'm going to my brother's new place, and we're building out all this furniture and garage stuff that he has. He needs my help. I'm like, this is when you call me when you need me to build furniture. But I'm gonna be doing that. So if we get any news, I might have to do it on the fly, brother. But we'll do it. We appreciate you, Johnny Mac. I'll catch you, if not this weekend, on Monday. All right, brother.
All right. Thanks, everybody.
All right, there's John McMullen, one of the best in the business, covering this football team, Philadelphia Eagles beat reporter. Make sure you guys go and follow him on Twitter at JF McMullen, and read all his work at SI. He is truly the best. We're honored to have him at JAKIB. We love what he contributes to the network, and a great reporter. Eagles not too happy with him calling it Timu signings, but he continued to do so. So great show today, man. A great week of content. Look, I know everybody's like, you might be iffy about the signings, or you're questioning, or do we make good moves? Or are we getting better? Look, this is reality in the NFL. We had the best roster in the NFL last year. You cannot keep everybody. Most teams have this type of turnover. It just, people think it's bigger in Philly because the players we're losing are better because our roster was deeper. So this turnover happens. You had the best roster in the NFL, man. Like, you're going to lose guys. Like Brian says, Xander, these dudes suck. Who cares, Brian? I mean, you lost good players this year because your roster was so deep. What were you going to do, Brian? Sign back everybody? Do you think that's a realistic world that we live in, Brian? It's not. So why entertain it? This is fine. They're building out the back of the roster. You got to get up to 90 names, man, before training camp. So long way to go. Long way to go. All right. But a lot of fun. Great week of content, man. You guys are just the best, man. You really are. I mean, the JAKIB Nation, you guys show out so much, and we had a huge week. So thank you all so much. Big Trag, I haven't seen you in a bit, but I meant to tell you, bro, the Trag, the first person I thought of when the Philadelphia Eagles signed Zach Bond was you. You know why, right? You know why, Big Trag. You won the first Bond jersey that I gave away was to Big Trag. And I remember saying to myself when I got the Bond jersey, because I got the Barclays, and I'm like, oh, I know Barclays going to be here at least a couple of years, right? So I feel good about people getting these. I said to myself when I got the Bond jerseys, I'm like, boy, I hope he doesn't leave, because that would really suck to get a jersey late in the year for a player that's been this good, and then he leaves. Now he is a Super Bowl champion, so that jersey is going to be valuable for a long time. But Trag, I thought of you, man, when they signed Zach Bond. I thought of you when they signed Zach Bond. He says he rocked it for the Super Bowl. I love it, Big Trag. Appreciate you, man. Appreciate your support of the network. All right, and I'm pumped you got the Bond jersey, and I'm pumped he's back. So I did think of you. Logan checks in. These free agents blow. Logan, there's certainly no barn burners. All right, there's nothing crazy going on in Philly land. Big Dom says, "What's up, Xander? What's up, Big Dom? Hope you're doing good, my guy. Appreciate you being here. I want Sidney Sweeney to return my calls, but it is what it is. Go simp somewhere else, pump. This is the first wave. I'm waiting to see what happens next. You and me both, Pat. I think it's draft, man. I think this team is focused on the NFL draft. I really do. I think that's where they're looking to improve their roster. All right. They've been really good. Probably the best drafting team in the last 4 years. 17 of 18 of their picks in the top 4 rounds have been key contributors to the football team. And the 18th, the one guy who wasn't, actually did contribute. And it was, why am I blanking on his name? Who was the safety from Clemson? Kayvon Wallace. So he contributed early. So, they've been really good at drafting, and they're going to stick to that formula. They're going to stick to that formula, stick to what they've done to make them good. All right. Whatever happens in the draft should make people feel better. We'll see, Pat. And the other thing about the draft this year is you're back, right? You're picking at 32. We've had a lot of years. We had multiple picks, up in the top 10 with Jalen Carter, 10 with Devontae Smith. You had 2 picks with Nolan Smith. He was at 30. That was a good pick, but you got 1 pick in the first round. It's 32. How you move this year will be different than how they've moved in previous years. So we'll see what they end up doing. Appreciate all you guys, man. Friday night, I hope all of you have an amazing weekend, an amazing night, whether it's with yourself, your wife, your kids, your husband, whatever it's with, your family. I appreciate all of you guys for checking us out, for watching any of our content, for liking, for sharing, for subscribing, and for being loyal listeners of JAKIB Sports. So thanks all you guys. I love you all. I hope you guys have a fantastic weekend. God bless you guys and have a great weekend. And I will catch you guys on the flip side. See you next time, everybody.